welcome back to part 2 of stamping in your planner. This part is going to cover stamping in your planner and creating a spread using stamps and maybe a little bit of washi. I apologize that it cut off so early in part 1. It really was just wrap up of what I was talking about, so you didn't miss anything. I apologize for that, though. I am not a YouTuber. I'm not an aspiring YouTuber. I'm just putting out these tutorials if it's something that might be helpful to you. So anyway, this may not be the end of the technical issues. It's just it's what I have to work with. I have an old Mac and I don't have a camera set up, so this is what I've got: natural light and my old Mac sitting up on a cooking stand and all of my stamping supplies surrounding me. So without further ado, let's get started. We talked about all the different pieces and parts of stamping and why you might want to use something over another and what it's used for yesterday. So I'm just going to kind of gather those things and get ready to stamp. As you can see, I already have my VersaFine Onyx Black, so I'll open that when I need it. I've got my washi. I have my water-based stamp cleaner from Ranger, which is going to be helpful. I've got paper towels to use with that. I like to use an Erin Condren bookmark to tear my washi, so that's what this is going to be for. It's going to hang out right here until I'm finished with the washi. I've got my block with my line separators on it so I can easily navigate and put something down pretty cleanly. Something I didn't mention yesterday: you're going to make mistakes. It's not an exact science. Stamping is not perfect. You're just going to have to embrace the imperfection of stamping. Sometimes it just doesn't turn out right. Or there's just one little thing that's not quite right. So what I have a correction pen here. It's liquid paper. It's nice. It has a pretty good coverage in a small space, and that's what I like about it. I'll use that if I have to. If it's not something that I can live with, not something that I can change into something else. Also, this Jelly Roll pen, it's just a white Jelly Roll pen. It doesn't have a particular number or name brand or anything on it, but this is another thing that I use for tiny fine detail work. So let's say I wanted to just get rid of a couple of the dots on here. I would use my Jelly Roll pen and just cover those dots before I stamp, if for some reason I know that that's going to be a problem. Also, you know, if I stamp and somehow one tiny little thing got out of the line, or I'm trying to do some coloring on top of it or something, and something gets out of the way, I'll use one or the other of these to cover that. So we didn't go over that yesterday, but I wanted to make sure you knew a correction pen and white Jelly Roll pen are kind of what I use if there's a mistake that I need to cover. I also have a Sharpie pen. I love this Sharpie pen. It has a fine point on it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a fine point, and I love, love, love how it works. I don't have a piece, well, I do have a piece of paper. It's just a very fine line, and so I can create fine pictures with it. And so you can do a number of things in your planner with a pen, with the Sharpie pen. So the next thing is I have my guides that we put together. Remember we talked about yesterday that I stamp all of the colors that I have. Using the same stamp is kind of nice, so you can compare one to one. And I actually write the colors next to it too, so that if I'm looking for my mementos, I look at the angel pink, I look at the pink and I can tell that it's definitely angel pink. So And then I can also compare it to the color box colors, which are very similar colors, but they just are pigment, so they are quite different. So I have all my guides ready. So in case I want to take a look and see what looks good on my spread, I do that ahead of time, so that I'm ready whenever I just want to kind of look at that. I have my color box stamps. They're pigment ink. I've got 2 boxes. This one has thinner colors in it, which is fine. It just doesn't have as much color or as much ink. But I find that I use some of the colors more than others if I use any color at all. Like this teal, I'm just really drawn to that. So I use that. And then this is kind of a blue violet in a way, and I just love that color. But I'm drawn to the darker colors too. It just kind of depends. I like to have them on hand because you just never know. Sometimes you'll do one thing and let's say you mess it up completely and you think, okay, well, I can't fix that. It's in my planner. Yeah, you can. You can stamp again on top of that with something else and just create something else, or stick a sticker on top of it if it didn't work out the way that you thought it would, and see where that takes you. Sometimes sticking a sticker on something will be a huge, huge change for you, and you'll think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Let me show you one example in my planner of something that I did. I was experimenting with watercolor. I did a little bit of watercolor in some of the pages here. I did watercolor here. I did it. It's watercolor, but it's very thick. I didn't do too wet because this paper doesn't do very well with wet. But I decided I was going to do watercolor on this. I don't know if you can spot the mistake, but the mistake, I did a little bit of watercolor up here, and then I did some watercolor over here, and I don't know what I was thinking. I wanted to make it, just give it some sort of watercolor background so that I could do something else on top of it, and it just didn't work out. It soaked through to the other page, which I ended up having to cover up the next week with a piece of cardstock. And then I thought, okay, what scraps do I have? I have a little box of scraps of things. And I had this left over from a Planner Society kit, and I cut it to size after I stamped Weekend and the glasses, and I just loved how it turned out. I already had the washi down, I already had some things down, but I just kept creating around that, and I just loved how it came out, and it gives it this really neat effect. And you can still see the watercolor underneath, so now it's no longer a mistake, it's actually part of the design. So just to show you that mistakes happen, and that, you know, there is something you can do about it, and it can turn into something else and something better than you intended it to be. Okay, so now we've covered some of the things that we're going to use to get started. Let's add our little covers from yesterday. I'm doing it now, even though I'm just going to do some washi next, just because I want to make sure that I don't forget. My biggest problem is forgetting to put these underneath, getting anxious about stamping, going ahead and stamping, and then realizing I did not put these underneath. So, so I would say that's one of the first things to do. I have these stamps that we talked about yesterday. I'm going to put those aside, and I'm going to pick other stamps to go with it. I have kind of a general idea of what I might want to do with my spread. This is all I'm starting out with, are these stamps and this washi. I just love them together, and I want to do a little bit of everything and just play with it, see how it comes out. But I'd really love it to center around the bows somehow. But I love the little girl too, and I think she needs to be in the spread. So I'm going to put that aside. And the first thing that we're going to do is lay down some washi. So I think just overall I'm going to probably put the little girl here, but she could also go here. I love the clear stamps because you can take them and lay them down and kind of see how they look with your spread underneath first. So she could be here, she could be over here, she could be way up here. You could even kind of go outside the box and put her here. So you have to think a little bit about your spread too. If you are really, really busy at the beginning of the week and you need to spend some time jotting things in these boxes, then maybe you want to balance your spread more this way, where you have more of the heavy pieces on this side. I like to do a little bit of a balance. Big pieces here, and then something else here so that I can continue to use this box or maybe use it for deco, or put a large thing here. Base it on my week, of course. You know, if I'm busier at this end of the week, then I might make this side a little more heavy. But at the same time, you want to balance it with your eye. So sometimes I'll put the heavy piece there, sometimes over here. So I'm thinking that, I really like her right there. But at the same time, I have all of this washi. And, I think I'm going to lay down this washi just this way, maybe. Actually, I think I'm going to use just these two. So I'm going to lay that washi down, and then we'll look again and see where the girl should be. Okay, so I stretch my washi out this way. I like to cover the whole bottom. So I just look, try to make it as close to the edge as I can. I don't flip out if it's not perfect because, you know, you can always put something over it or it's just not going to be incredibly noticeable. And then I just smooth it down and I take my bookmark and I lay it up against where I want the washi to stop, and I push my finger on it and tear the washi that way so that I have a clean tear and I start out clean when I'm putting it on the next time. I think I'm going to use this. Let's see. I think I'm going to use this for this side rather than this, although I love that. I don't want anything to be too matchy-matchy. It already matches in color and overall theme, but sometimes I think it's more interesting for the eye to see differences. So I'm going to put this stripe down just the way we did that. Stick it down and smooth it. And I'm kind of using these little lines on the planner and the bottom as kind of a guide to keep the washi straight, but then I smooth it down as it's straight so that I can't keep readjusting it. And then I'm going to use my bookmark again and tear. So that washi's down. Let's get the larger washi going. And you know, because I think I'm going to put the girl over here, I think I may only put this larger washi here. So I'm going to just start it at the bottom of the other washi. Hopefully you can see that. And then just tear it in the same place, just like that. So looks a little uneven right now, but I like it that way. You can go through and layer or do different things. Like I just can't get away from the polka dots. I love them. Black and white polka dots, small ones, large ones, doesn't matter. So I think I'm going to put more polka dots here. And I'm using the lines on the planner to figure out where everything needs to go. So and then I'm using the line on the planner to figure out where to tear the tape. And then I just kind of smooth it down. So now I've got a little bit of washi in all these places. And I'm kind of going to leave everything else open for now. So now is where we're going to do a little bit of stamping. This is a stamp I'm not sure that I talked about yesterday. I don't think that I did. This is an alphabet stamp. And I love this because it has this vintage type on it. Like it's almost like typewriter. What would you call it? It's like a font, but it's type. But what's neat about this is I got this at clearance at Tuesday morning for like $3, and I just love it. You take it apart and you create whatever words you want, and it just snaps together like Legos. So you can create a word. I haven't thought about what word I want to put in yet, but I just want to show you so that we will know when we get to that point that I'm going to snap together a word or a phrase and use that on this. Another thing you can do too is use just plain white sticker paper. You can order just the basic like shipping labels, white shipping labels from Amazon, or pick some up at an office supply store. And you can stamp directly on those, cut them out, and put them in your planner. That's a little less nerve-wracking than stamping directly in your planner. And it may be something you might want to do just because you don't want to have these lines show through. I don't mind that so much. It just depends on the style. If I want the end result to be a spread that, let's say, it's hard to explain, but let me go back to Christmas, somewhere around Christmas, or no, I'm sorry, Halloween. It was around Halloween. It was the night I did the Nightmare Before Christmas. I colored those directly on white paper, and I put them, here they are. This is all white sticker paper. I did them on white sticker paper, drew and colored them. And then I kind of, before I peeled the sticker off, I moved them around the page and tried to decide where I wanted them to be. And I decided that I wanted them to be here. This was supposed to be my memory keeper, but getting ready to open my shop and everything, I just got so overwhelmed that I didn't do that. So I do have notes in all of my TNs and my planners of what happened that week, and I'm going to go back and probably do some bag planning. But anyway, that's not here nor there. So as you can see, I did not do it directly on the paper because I didn't want lines going through their faces. I actually didn't know where I wanted them on the paper. So that's an example of using the white sticker paper to stamp on or to color on, and then you can put it in your planner. All right, back to our spread. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually stamp in the planner. The first thing I'm going to do is stamp her down, but at the same time I'm seeing how pretty this is, and I would love to have maybe here, and then her here. I think that would work out really nicely. I like this stamp too. Maybe I could put it there. So let's do a little bit of that. We're going to do a lot of bows and things on this side, I think, because I'm just really getting inspired by this washi. Washi is kind of where I start. I look around, I see what washi inspires me, and I pick it up and I go with it. So then we also have this too. We could use this as an extra added trim here at the bottom, and you know what? I think we'll do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is peel it off, stick it on the lines so that it's very straight, press it down. so it won't go anywhere. And then I'm going to take my VersaFine black, of course, and I'm going to dab it. So I can see how much is going on. Can you see that? Oops, there we go. Okay, so that's not as much, so I'm going to keep dabbing until I feel like it's pretty even, and you can keep just dabbing. That's what's nice about the VersaFine is its cloth. You don't have to worry about pressing very hard. With the sponge one, if I press too hard, I can end up with blobby black all around it, and then I go to stamp and I get a blobby black into my spread, and that just, that just ruins it for me. And I really, really enjoy stamping, and I don't like to have mistakes like that. It really causes a lot of anxiety for me. So if I can prevent those mistakes ahead of time, then I'm all for it, and I can continue to enjoy stamping. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It's pretty even. So I'm going to take this, and like I said yesterday, I would normally stand up, but because we're working in such a small space right now and I don't have a place to really expand and kind of show you what I'm doing, I'm just gonna go ahead and lay this down. So I'm using the lines on the acrylic, and I'm going to press it down. Okay, pushing in the middle. But because this is not a clear gel, I can kind of push anywhere and feel pretty comfortable that it's going to be even. So, and it also has the hard backing. Okay, that's not bad. All right, let's do a little more. Now the third, if we do a third one here, it's only going to be part of it, and I'll show you a tip for that. Okay, I love the textured look of this. It has, I don't know if you can tell, but it looks like cloth. So very, very, very good stamps. All right, I'm going to line this up kind of the same way I did. I actually am going to stand up for this one so I can line it up properly. When you're standing above it and you can look, you can see right where it lines up. But you also have to be willing to let it go if it doesn't line up exactly the way you want. Stamping just is sometimes like that, and I understand. I suffer from anxiety and depression. I mean, it's really hard for me to have something not come out perfect, but in letting that go, I have been able to open the doors to so many new things and new ways of creating because I let the imperfections go. Okay, well that's not too bad. That's better than I expected. Okay, so let's see. At this point, I'm going to take a piece of my paper towel that I have here waiting for cleaning stamps. Just going to take a little piece of it and kind of cover that. And I'm going to peel this up a little bit because it needs to be closer to the edge. You'll see what's going to happen if I stamp here. This is going to bump into the coil, and I'm not going to be able to stamp the way I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a little ink, and I'm leaving this over where I inked before so that it doesn't stamp it again or give it kind of a double look. And then I'm pressing down, giving it just enough. I'm standing above it, pressing down. Okay, and then lift it off quickly. Now, as you can see, I made kind of a mistake there. Not a big deal. That is a place where you might want to consider putting a sticker. I can go back in with a pen and highlight this and make it darker. I can do a number of things. We can even color with Prismacolor. So I'm not worried about that, to be honest. It's a little bit off. I could have lined it up a little bit better, but it's not a big deal. So I think we're done with this stamp. And because it's such a small stamp, I'm not going to spray directly on it. I'm going to grab my little spray a little bit on here, and just kind of clean up the stamp. So it looks like, and of course you don't want to do this over your planner the way I'm doing it, because you could actually smudge into your planner, but I've done this a few times. Okay, good enough for me. You can actually just do it as much as you need to get it all off. Perfect. So now it's ready to go back on. And you just store it that way. Okay. Now remember, we talked about maybe wanting this. So let's say I have a mistake there and I want to cover it up. Well, let's cover it up. I think that would be a very good idea. I'm lining it up on the lines on my acrylic. And I'm going to take this and get it good and dark, because frankly that's going to be what covers up this mistake, to be honest. And I think it'll add some more dimension. So we were already considering putting that there, and I didn't put it far enough over. We were already considering putting it there, so I'm glad that we're going to do it. It's going to cover up a mistake, just like we were talking about. Okay, so now we're ready to stamp. Now I'm going to line up carefully and kind of go over that line a little bit so I can make sure to cover that mistake. And this is usually a process that's all in my head, so I apologize if it's a little off or strange. I've been trying to think for a while, how would I talk through this? I'm usually doing this very quietly and on my own. But so if you can deal with a little bit of going here and there with my thoughts and down rabbit holes, then we can talk about my process. Okay, there you go. So it looks like I didn't get some of the ink in the middle, so somehow this isn't hard enough. Well, with black, it's not such a big deal. I'm going to put this clipboard in and show you how to deal with that. I'm not freaking out over it because it's not perfect. I'm going to take some of the black off of the edges because apparently it didn't get the ink off the middle because it wasn't quite hard enough. There must be too many layers of something underneath there, so I'm going to use the clipboard on this side going forward. But I'm going to go back and line it up again. I took the color off the edges here so it doesn't mess with our little butterflies. I'm going to line it up. And now I'm going to press hard in the middle because that's where it didn't come from. Excuse me, it didn't ink very well from the middle. All right, there we go. A little bit of double, but that's okay. It kind of gives it a little bit of dimension. So I like that. All right, I'm going to clean my stamp. It's always a good idea to kind of do this as you go along. If it dries, it's kind of harder to clean off of it. I'm not the best cleaner either. I get so anxious to complete the work that sometimes I'm just like barely clean it and set it aside, and then the next time I go to use it I kind of have to clean it more because I didn't do well the first time. So that's all right though. All right, so that is now clean. I'm going to put it back on our little board here. The next thing to do would be probably this one. Now I'm thinking, and I don't know if this will work out, so I'm going to check this out first. Oh, I think a bow would be really cute in the middle of that, don't you? So if we do a bow, and then we do some things with bows on this side, I think it's going to turn out really well. So let me grab this one. We're going to do this stamping. Now keep in mind, this is where I would normally stop and give it just a minute or so. This is pigment ink, so it can smear while it's still drying. The good thing is that Erin Condren paper is really good for stamping. It seems to dry faster than it would on a smoother surface. I like this new paper that she has. It's just so much better exponentially than the paper before. But let's pretend I've given it a little time to dry. And I'm getting ready to stamp again. So I have this on my acrylic block. And I'm going to ink it really good. Not terribly good on the inside because I really want to be able to showcase the bow. And that's okay, it's kind of built that way. See how it's darker around the edges? No matter how much I try to push down, it's purposely doing that so it has that vintage look. All right, whoop. I'm standing up again and I bumped the camera. My ancient Mac. Okay, let me try to get back to where I was. All right, here we go. Can you see everything okay? All right. So it doesn't matter which way, this kind of just is. So you don't have to be kind of perfect, just good lineup. Look around. Looks good to me. Just gonna drop it like that and then put pressure. Okay, and because this is the rubber block, I can push however hard I want and it's not going to get blobby like it would with the clear. And blobby is a technical term. Okay, there you go. So that's pretty good. I like it. I love how it turned out in the middle. It does look very vintagey. Okay, I'm going to clean this stamp. I just went ahead and sprayed directly on the stamp. And clean it off. Kind of dab and clean. All right, put it back on my block. So the next thing we need to do is stamp the girl. Now, the biggest block I have is this one. Now normally I would say you need to have a block for every size, but I don't have a size bigger than this. So what I do with the girls is I kind of put them in, if they're too big, like this. And I press them down, and as you can see, there's only a little bit of overhang. When I apply pressure here, it's going to put the pressure where it needs to on the bottom of the stamp, just because it's just over the edge. Now if it were too far over the edge, I don't think that would happen. So, all right, so now I'm ready to ink the girl. So again, I do it this way so I can see how much ink I have and did I get it evenly applied. And part of my aesthetic is vintage look, so you know, if it doesn't give a complete filled in look, I guess, that's okay with me. I can always add something else to it, and I actually prefer it that way. Okay, well we can't really use our guidelines because I've had to put her on diagonal like this, so I'm going to stand up again and I'm going to stamp her, but I need to actually visually see where she's going to go before I do anything. So I'm kind of hovering over the area, and when I find where I want her to go, I'm just going to drop her and not touch her again. Now I can just put my hand on it, lay my hand on it, make sure to hit those corners where she hung over just a little bit, push down, give it good hard. With the rubber, you have to push kind of hard to make sure it's perfect. And I love how they come out. The clear stamps are a little bit harder. You don't want to do this to it. You want to give them a nice even push. Okay, so now I'm going to pick her up, but I'm going to do it in one motion. If you do it in more than one motion, you could drop it again. It could stamp a second time, but I just pick her up. Oh, look what happened. Somehow I didn't get the middle. Well, that's okay. I got her clock. I didn't get her, let's see. This is how we're going to fix this. I'm glad so many errors are happening. These are not errors that happen all the time, but I know people worry about that with stamping. So I'm going to put this over her, and I'm going to go back in with a little bit more ink in the middle here. Maybe I didn't ink it well enough in the middle. Maybe that's what happened. We'll see. Okay, so I've inked just a little bit more in the middle here where it didn't come out. And I'm kind of looking to see where the clock is. I don't want to do the clock again. And I'm just going to kind of go over that area. And we're not going to freak out if it's not perfect. Just is what it is. Okay, now I'm going to press her down in the middle. Make sure I get that middle part. Okay, and I'm going to pick her up. Well, it did a little bit more. See, kind of fixed it a little bit, but that's okay. That's where we can take our pen and do any kind of filling in. We can do more color with our Prismacolors, but at the same time, we didn't double stamp around. And she looks perfect. I love her. Okay, now we do want to give that side a time to dry. So I'm going to do some stamping, and we'll come back in just a moment. Okay, got that clean. It's ready to go. We'll come back in just a moment and do some more. Creating the spread. Okay, so you've seen me speed it up and do more stamping. I also went in and filled in a little bit here and there where the stamping wasn't perfect. I'm probably going to go back in and do a lot more black down here at the bottom using my pens and my Tombows. But you know, the name of the spread is simplicity. I wanted to make it something that you could try and do and feel good about and know that you already have it within you to do the stamping. So um, I hope that you enjoy stamping. I hope that you enjoy creating new spreads. This is just so much fun to do. The thing to watch out for that I did not address earlier is your hands. See, my hands get um, ink all over them from cleaning the pads and everything, and I end up touching my spreads. So something else you may want to have nearby, maybe some baby wipes or something to kind of wipe your hands in between so that you don't inadvertently do that. I end up having to put correction over that area, and I don't want to have to do that. I'd love to be able to just, you know, go. But I do go and I end up with little marks because I haven't washed my hands. So anyway, that's another tip to keep in mind. Something else was with my letters. I did not have 3 eyes, but I desperately wanted to use the word simplicity. So I made a J. I put a J in there and I just put some correction fluid over it, and that took care of that. So it looks like I now have 3 eyes, and I can take my pen, and now that the correction fluid is done, and just draw a little bottom for the eye. It looks just like the others. So, and typically after this, I would put the washi on, I would do the stamping, I would put some headings on that I want, and then I might look through my stickers and see what else might go with this spread, anything else that I might want to add. Sometimes I just have some Mambi stickers that have little little accents that would be perfect for here, or maybe some sort of lettered little words that I want to put on. Maybe even a box sticker that would just go with this perfectly. So take a moment and look through all your stickers afterwards and just kind of see. I can't seem to get away from making it a mixed media spread. I just keep adding stuff to it. With the girl, I may even do more ink work, but this is just kind of a spread to show you how I've done it and how I pulled together everything that we talked about with stamps. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. Let me know wherever this is being posted. Let me know. Let me know in my group. Anywhere, I'm happy to answer questions. You can private message me if you like. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. I've really enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed taking some time to share my process a little bit. I'm not really well spoken sometimes because I think through things in my head more than anything. I don't really talk a lot out loud unless I'm talking to my pug, which is pretty much all day. But you don't want to hear me talk about whether you need to potty or go eat some food. So that's pretty much what we talk about. Other than that, cleanup. If you've been cleaning up all along, your stamps should be in good condition to keep going. And I don't know, sorry, excuse me. I remember pulling this out while we were choosing stamps to go in. This is just a little, I believe it's a 1-inch mini binder that I got from, I think I got it from Amazon, really cheap, less than $5. But I also bought a package of these little sleeves, the plastic sleeves. And I think they're page protectors, really. But they're perfect because I can throw my, I can put my stamps, I say throw, but I can put my stamps in there. Sometimes I put 2 or 3 depending on the size. But sorry, my husband came in looking for something. Where were we? Oh yes, I was showing you the binder. So this is just a way that I found for storage versus what I was doing before, which is I was putting everything, all of these together in here, and because they're clear, they're so hard to find when they're one on top of another. And I would forget about some really cool ones that I had that I wanted to work with. So yeah, storing stamps, the best way that I figured out, I've got two mini binders, two little mini binders that I keep things in, and I put things in the side. You can also put another pocket on the outside, like a little business card pocket, clear pocket, and slide one of these in. This is what I put on the sides, are all Target Dollar Spot pockets, little adhesive pockets. They fit my Planner Society ones perfectly, some of the smaller ones. And this is my Studio L2E little checklist. I think it says seasonal plans for spring. Fits perfectly in the pocket here, but it's a little too big for the Target pocket, so I just put it right here because it's one that I use often, so I want to put it there. Sometimes it just has to do with the stamp size, like this one just goes right there. And then I put some more pockets back here. So it's kind of a little awkward, but it has everything I need, and I can flip through as I'm creating my spread and just take a look at what I've got and say, oh, you know what, that will go perfect. I'll pull that out. And I pull the whole thing out and I stack them. And sometimes I don't use them. You know, I'll pull them out with the intention to use them, and I go to use them, and I think you saw that in the sped up video that I went to go lay down a box. Where was it? Here. And I just wasn't happy with how it looked. I didn't realize I had gotten one with a double box, and it just wasn't doing it for me. I can't even explain it. It just wasn't it. But what you can do with these boxes is you could put the box down, and you can put like a small character, or you can put I don't know, you could put a little washing machine or something and talk about the laundry you need to do. You know, any of those things. I love these boxes for that. They come in small, and they have larger half boxes. And so this is a great option for half boxes if you like to use those. This is double, and then this is just a single. And I didn't even think about that, and I grabbed a double, and I just wasn't happy. So this is a way that you can do half boxes and do some really cool things. I like this is a quarter box here. Like I said, you can put a washing machine. You could put, I don't have any of those out, but you know, pretty much anything you could put there. So boxes are really neat. I also have a lot of the little checklists. And this is what I used here. I liked this checklist. It kind of has a polka dot feel to it, but it has hearts in it, and they're hexagons. I liked that a lot. I am always tempted to go overboard, but what I do, as I talked about in the first video, is I do a little bit and I just see how it feels. And I do a little bit more and I see how it feels, because I could have the tendency to just pile it all on, and then I'm so unhappy and I don't want to use it because I can't take it off. So I've just let this become kind of almost like a meditation time in a way, where I'm doing this, I'm spending time in the process. You know, I spend about an hour creating my spread, sometimes more. If I'm doing a lot of artwork, you know, hand-drawn artwork, or, you know, a lot of mixed media stuff, it's going to take a lot longer than that. But generally about an hour, and you could put on some music, some calming music, and stamp and see how you feel, and make sure your hands are clean, and go back in with your pens, do a little coloring. It's okay to do just a little at a time. It's like cutting your hair. You cut a little bit at a time. You don't want to cut it all off and then decide you wanted it longer. You just do a little bit at a time. So that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to see more tutorials, just let me know. I'm happy to do that. And like I said, I'm not a YouTuber, so I'll put it on YouTube so that it's easily accessible for anyone. But it's not my intention to, you know, be monetized, or, I mean, if it goes that direction, great, but I'm not concerned about it. I'm just concerned about getting the tutorials out where everyone has access to them. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit long, um, but I hope that you were able to get some tips and some tricks out of it. And maybe if you have some ideas and things that I could use that you've seen and that you saw in the video and you thought, oh, I bet she could really fix that if she did this. You know, please let me know. I'm always open to new ideas and new things. I think that's what makes art evolve, is being open to new ideas, open to mistakes, open to things, and just seeing where art takes you. Not trying to focus on the vision that's in your head, but on, you have a basic vision in your head and then see if that's what turns out, because it isn't always what happens. So this isn't as well involved as I normally do, but like I said, for this tutorial, this is perfect, and I'll use this spread and maybe even add some more stuff to it. But if you have any questions, please let me know, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye.